still not much movement on Bitcoin, and so I'm actually not really buying any tokens except for what I'm calling the cycle winners, because what I've realized is that for this cycle, the market's already selected the altcoin cycle winners. And unlike all the other cycles that we've been through in crypto, this time the actual cycle winners are actually backed by fundamentals. They're not actually tokens that are just pumpermentals or just hype. The cycle winners this cycle have been selected on a certain set of fundamentals, or should we say a certain formula. And so it's absolutely not coincidental when you look at the bubbles and you move back to a certain point in time and you look to see which tokens are actually becoming this cycle's winners, or which tokens are going to be this cycle's winners. It's not going to be a coincidence when you realize that there is actually a formula behind it. And once you understand the formula, you can really select the cycle winner. So what I want to show you in today's show is I want to show you the tokens that I am comfortable buying. And those are the ones that the market has told me are going to be the cycle winners. And I'm going to show you what the formula is to select those cycle winners. So while the rest of the market isn't actually moving, while there's not much movement in the rest of the market, you may actually be able to select some amazing winners if you apply the formula that I'll show you today. So I think it's going to be a good show. I think it's going to be a fun show. Let's get going, guys. GM guys, not much movement on the markets, but hell, you know, there's a lot going on. And especially if you look deep in the market, you'll actually see that there's a certain narrative of tokens that are actually pumping. And the good news is that we've actually been quite spot on the money selecting these tokens. And it encourages me, because once I realized what we had been doing, what the formula is for these tokens, it actually becomes really, really, really simple identifying whether a token is going to be a cycle win or not going to be a cycle win. That's what I want to show you today. I kind of want to show you that formula because I think I've cracked that formula to decide what the cycle winners are. So listen, if that sounds good to you, I need you guys to do me a huge favor. Please, could you smash the like button now? Like just take like 2 seconds of your time. Hit that like button. It really does. We were looking at the stats this weekend, and the amount that it adds to the distribution when you guys smash the like button, it changes the entire distribution of the show. You can end up getting like double the number of views on the show just because of the number of likes. So please, it'll take you like 30 seconds and almost zero effort. Just smash the like button, and I'll bring you guys the alpha and we can get the show on the road. Yeah, so let's actually quickly just look at that. I see the likes are going up. Thank you to those who are actually doing it. It's amazing. I see there's about a 25% like to viewers ratio at the moment. Let's see if we can actually get that up. So let's look at what's actually happening in the market. There isn't really much movement going on. We're still hovering at that 110, 112, 113 level. And as I said to you, I'm not very convinced about this market. I actually think that the probabilities of a down move right now probably outweigh the probabilities of an up move right now. And so I'm not really deploying any money unless the money is going into what the cycle has determined to be the cycle winner. Because this cycle is very different from the other crypto cycles that we've had. For those of you who were here in 2020 and in 2017, what you'll remember is that in those days, we had the concept of the bees. I don't know if you guys remember the bees and how the bees used to fly from one narrative, one flower to another flower. But if you look at this cycle is actually completely different. The bees aren't hopping from one narrative to another narrative. We haven't had like a gaming run and then an AI run. And then it's been like one single long narrative this cycle. And what you're not getting is you're not getting these multiple pops in multiple different cycles. And you got to kind of ask yourself the question as to why that's happening. And once you understand exactly why that's happening and you understand what the market actually is looking for, it'll help you in selecting the cycle winners. And the cycle winners have kind of become obvious. Like if you look at the cycle winners, so this guy says you need Bitcoin because power will keep cutting rates and M2 supply will go to infinity. Obviously, we know that. But then he says Hyperliquid because Jeff, Athena, pump.fun, Pendle, those seem like the cycle winners. If you look at what Miles is saying, he's saying Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Athena, Pump, Hype, and Mantle. And if you look at like a whole lot of other tweets, Athena, Hype, Pump, Hype, Athena, Pump, Jupiter, Sky, it does seem like this cycle, the market has been quite, has the consensus trade on who the winners are in the cycle. Now, the one thing I've learned about crypto is what you should do is you should back the winners. Don't try and back the contrarian horses, because the winners are the ones that generally land up taking more market share, more share of mind, more share of voice. And when you back a small competitor, very, very, very rarely does that small competitor actually overtake the main one. Now, I think a good example is, for those of you who were here in the last cycle, we had Uniswap and we had 𝗙𝗧𝗖𝗍 swap. And we kind of said, oh, well, you know, like if you didn't catch Uniswap, go and back 𝗙𝗧𝗖𝗍. But those that did are pretty much left with no money, right? In a game of networks, what you'll find is that in the network game, the winner tends to take all, right? And so what you want to do is you really, really, really want to double down on what you believe the cycle winners are going to be. The good news about the selection of the cycle winners in this cycle is this is not the same as, let's say, the 2017 cycle, where the 2017 cycle was based on fundamentals, right? And 2021 cycle, these tokens had no real fundamentals behind them, and they actually crashed. This time, the winners in the cycle, the tokens that the cycle has selected as its winners have all got very strong fundamentals behind them. So I want to actually show you the formula. Before I do, though, let's just quickly talk about this week, because it actually is quite a big week. We have 2 data points coming out this week, which may move the market slightly. The 2 data points are actually CPI and PPI. So we have, on Wednesday, we have the PPI inflation data, and on Thursday we have the CPI inflation data. Now, why is this such big news or such a big week? Well, remember the last time the PPI came out? That was the data point that got everybody into a frenzy, because the market was complaining. I must say, this investing.com is like one of my worst sites in the whole world. There's like 8,400 gazillion trillion adverts. It's terrible, bro. It's like when you're watching porn and you're trying to watch the porn, but then they give you all those like other small like adverts on the side, bro. It's like you just want to watch the movie, bro. Like, look at all these ads. Anyway, you can see that in the last PPI, they spoke about 2.5%, and we got 3.3%, and everyone was very, very, very scared around inflation, right? But so this time we're having another PPI reading, and it's coming before the CPI reading, right? So we hope that there's no more surprises when it comes to PPI. The market is forecasting a 3.4% PPI, which is 0.1 higher than the last one. We just need to hold that to make sure that there's no issues. If we get much higher than the 3.4% that's expected, then we got to look to the next day. And the next day is actually CPI. And again, with CPI, they're expecting a slight tick up, right? It's a slight tick up. They're expecting to go from 2.7 to 2.9%. To be honest, regardless of what we actually land up getting, I believe there's going to be a rate cut. And the market is now actually even starting to forecast 2 rate cuts, which is a long way away from where we were before. I've said for a long time, we're going to get a rate cut in September. Here it is. We've got this potential rate cut in September. And now people are actually talking about a second rate cut. So let's wait for the data points. The days of the data points are Wednesday and Thursday. Wednesday PPI, Thursday CPI, and then we have the FOMC meeting, which is coming up on the 17th, which is 9 days from today, which is actually next Wednesday. So next Wednesday, FOMC meeting, we'll definitely be bringing that one to you live, because I think that's going to be the first real rate cut of the cycle. You can argue, yes, there were rate cuts before, but I almost want to say there were no rate cuts before, because there were rate cuts, but they were like these rate cuts that were done not because of what should have happened, but probably because they were trying to get the Democrats to win the elections again, and they needed to stimulate the economy. And you know the whole story. I'm not going to get there, because I actually want this to be what's the name? I actually want this video to actually live on YouTube. So so going back to it, let's go back to the tokens now that we understand what's happening this week, right? So we know that the cycle winners have been selected, and luckily, as I said before, we've been pretty spot on when it comes to calling those cycle winners. You saw what the markets called as the cycle winners: Athena, Hype, pump.fun. Those are exactly the tokens that we've been calling for a long time. 𝗟𝘀𝗄𝗪, Athena, you can see over here, pump.fun. I mean, we were buying pump.fun on July 26th when it was close to the bottom. Anyone that's in front runners and anyone that's been paying attention in front runners, you guys definitely should have caught a lot of these trades. I mean, I'm sure you guys caught a lot of these trades, and that's because the truth is that we've been looking at these cycle winners for quite a while, right? We've been like, here. I mean, just have a look here. Athena, Hype, Solana, Pump. Those are all the ones that we've been updating in the cycle in the cycle. And the reason why we've been updating them is because we kind of got a glimpse of what the market was actually looking for. And this is what I want to show you. I want to show you what the market's looking for, because I think it's very different from the 2017 cycle. In the 2017 cycle, all you had to have was a good concept. And your concept had to have a lot of the promise of good things to come in the future and the promise of users to come in the future. And if you had that, well, then you could have generated the pump. The problem is that when the 2017 and 2021 cycle ended, if your token didn't live up to the expectations, then the market started coming down. And this cycle is slightly different, right? Because this cycle is really not about the promise of how this tech can disrupt. This cycle is very much about fundamentals. And when I talk about fundamentals, I don't only mean how much revenue your token is generating, because there are a lot of tokens that are actually generating a lot of revenue, but aren't actually getting the market-related valuations that they should be getting. So, whereas I think that one of the things that the market's looking for is they're looking for revenue, there's actually a much bigger picture behind it. And to understand the picture, you've got to really dig deep into the market cycle. Okay, so let's talk about what this market cycle actually is and how to read this market cycle. So we know that this market cycle, the market is much bigger than the market's ever been, right? If you look at the total market cap, and let me just get it over here, total market cap is around $4 trillion. This is not the same market that we are used to dealing with. This is a much bigger market than we're used to dealing with, right? And so this market is actually backed by institutional flows, specifically flows that are coming in from Wall Street. The big money this cycle is coming in from Wall Street, whether it comes in through the ETFs or whether it comes in through the Treasury companies. Wall Street is the one that's powering the cycle. And with a cycle that's being powered by Wall Street, we need to understand what it is that Wall Street's here and looking for. And when I say Wall Street, I don't mean specifically the buying that they do now, because the market's forward looking. But the market's saying, look, right now Wall Street's buying Bitcoin, ETH, and they've started buying a shit ton of Solana. What are they going to buy next? And the answer comes down to understanding how Wall Street think, right? Wall Street are pretty, you could say, simple people. When I say simple people, they don't really care about the technology. I don't even think that Wall Street really understands the difference between proof of work and proof of stake. They don't really care about stuff like that. They're looking for metrics, and they're looking for metrics that they can plug into models. And so the metrics that they can plug into models, obviously the first one of those metrics is very much the fundamentals, right? Or the revenues. And when it comes to revenues, it's pretty easy to work out what the protocol revenues are, because most of the protocol revenues are actually reported by the protocol, etc., etc. But that's not enough in this cycle to power the cycle, right? You need to understand, or they're looking for more than just the revenues, right? So Solana's generated 1.25 billion revenue to date. ETH has generated 2.5 times that, but ETH has performed slightly better than Solana in this part of the cycle. Question is why? What is Wall Street actually looking for here, right? And the answer is that you need a flywheel. And it's not, when I say a flywheel, I don't mean a flywheel in the sense of the word like crypto uses the word flywheel, right? You need a flywheel. And so what Wall Street is looking for is they're looking for two sides of the coin. The first side of the coin is they're saying, does the protocol actually have revenue and fundamentals? Cool. That's the first part of it. The second part that Wall Street's looking for is they're looking for how the protocol is removing tokens from the market. How is the protocol looking to reduce token supply? One way to reduce token supply is to do things like buybacks, right? So if you've got revenues, you tick the first Wall Street box. And then if you've got a way to use those revenues to actually buy back your token, then you become a big winner. And I'll show you a big example. So if you look at Uniswap, right? So Uniswap have got, let me actually just see if it is one of our cash cows here. So Uniswap actually have quite big revenues, right? Staking soon. So Uniswap actually have quite big revenues. But if you look at the Uniswap chart, Uniswap's not like the greatest chart in USDT. Not the greatest chart in the whole of crypto if you look at it, right? Not a bad chart, but not a great chart when it comes to it. Then you compare Uniswap to a chart like Hyperliquid. And Hyperliquid is basically an up-only chart. So you got to ask yourself a question. What is Hyperliquid doing that Uniswap is not doing? And this is where it gets pretty interesting. So Hyperliquid have actually been masters in doing two things. The first thing is they've been masters in creating revenue. They're a derivatives platform. They're a decentralized derivatives platform. They create amazing, amazing, amazing revenue. Bang. But what do they do with that revenue? So Hyperliquid use about 97% of their revenue to actually buy back the token, right? And they create these huge buybacks, which actually remove the tokens off the market, right? And if they continue on the current trajectory, they're going to buy back every single token in about 8 years, right? And so what you realize is that Wall Street wants you to generate revenue because that's the fundamental, but they also want you to have a plan to use that revenue or to get tokens off the market. And this is where Hyperliquid have become very, very smart. I'm going to show you about 10 other protocols that are doing exactly the same thing. But Hyperliquid, number one, about 97% of their revenue actually goes back to buying the tokens. But you can see in their mindset that they are constantly thinking of more ways to generate more revenue for the single purpose that that revenue can be used to take tokens off the market, right? Their latest move is quite a smart move, if I may say so. They've said, look, we're going to launch a Hyperliquid. We're not going to launch. We're going to endorse a Hyperliquid, a stable coin on the Hyperliquid chain. We're going to endorse it. Any other coin is going to be able to operate, but we're going to endorse this thing called USDH. And what the bidders are doing here is they're bidding to use the profits from that stable coin to actually buy back Hyperliquid tokens. So effectively, there's a lot of people bidding to launch this USDH stablecoin, and the winner will somehow generate fees or revenue. And when they generate the revenue, they will use that revenue to buy back Hyperliquid tokens. And so why I'm showing this to you is, and we can spend some time, another time, actually digging into the actual Hyperliquid stablecoin and how it's going to work and the bidding process. But what I'm trying to show you is more of a mindset. And the mindset is a mindset that says, all we need to think about is how we can use our revenue to buy back our tokens. If you do that, your chart looks something like this. If you don't do that, then your chart looks something like that. That's the big differentiator, right? That's the big differentiator. And you can see the same thing with pump.fun. Pump.fun were getting a lot of slack. They weren't really performing until what did they do? They started doing buybacks. And they started doing almost 100% buybacks of their tokens. And as they started to do almost 100% buybacks of their tokens, and of course a whole lot of other things, basically the pump.fun chart has been up only, and I think will continue to go up only, right? Why? Because they take their financials and almost 100%, here's the dashboard over here, they've bought back 5.8% of the total circulating supply from these buybacks, right? Pump.fun bought back another 2 million pump yesterday. Their average daily buyback is 1.8 million. That's roughly the same as Athena. It's a lot more than Hyperliquid's buyback. In a single year, they would buy back 40% of the current supply relative to the market cap. So what you can see is that Wall Street, or the cycle, is rewarding tokens that do two things. One, generate revenue. Two, have a plan to get tokens off the market. Buybacks is one part of that plan. And tokens that have good buybacks should do well in the cycle, which means that if you can identify tokens that are doing, someone says, Ryan John says, 2025 is the buyback cycle. So, hold on, I'm just going to grab a tissue. So I want to say you're right. It's buybacks, but it's not only buybacks. If it was only buybacks, then the spreadsheet looks something like this, right? So you look at all the tokens that are actually doing buybacks, and then what you'd say is you would pick your poison, you'd pick your metric. Buybacks over market cap or buybacks over fully diluted. I prefer buybacks over fully diluted. And you would look to see what are the protocols that are doing the most buybacks relative to their fully diluted value. And here, what you can see is like pump.fun is buying back 1%. In the last month, they've bought back 1% of all their tokens, relative, well, 1% of their FDV. So imagine buying 1% in a month of your FDV. Hyperliquid have bought back 0.21% of their, in the last 30 days, they bought back 0.21% of their, let me just actually hide this cell over here so that you guys can actually see it. Yeah. So you look at the buybacks and you say the tokens that are doing the highest buybacks should get the highest relative valuation. So pump.fun obviously the highest, Hyperliquid very, very good. 𝗕bridge is one that, I mean, it's quite an arbitrary, like this one's quite they're buying back, in the last 30 days, they've bought back half their, that means that in 30 days, they've bought back half of their token supply, which means that in 12 months, they'll buy back 6% of their token supply, which means they'll buy back all their tokens in a couple of years. And so what you're looking for is you're looking for tokens that have good or high levels of buybacks. So another good one is 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗪, almost 1% of their tokens bought back in the last month. No wonder these tokens are getting such high valuations. Why? Because they are eliminating between 0.2 or even 0.16 and 1% of their market, of their tokens every single month. I mean, if pump.fun carry on like this in 52 months, sorry, in 100 months, they would have bought back every single one of their tokens. 100 months is 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. Okay, so that's the trick here. You got to look at protocols that have aggressive buyback programs and are making a lot of revenue, and you got to look at how much they're buying back relative to their fully diluted valuation. One that's also insanely high is Sky. And if you look at Sky is the old 𝗬𝗡, by the way, for those of you, the Sky is the old 𝗬𝗡. And if for those of you who look at the Sky chart, okay, this chart isn't the one I was looking at. Let's just see if we can get you another one. Oh, because of the rebranding. You won't be able to see the history because of the rebranding. Let's try. Yeah. So Sky has been one of the best performers, actually. If you could go back on this chart, you can't go back on the chart because of the rebrand. But the ones that have very, very, very high, like 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗪, 0.84% of their tokens buying back in a month. What you're looking for is you're looking for tokens that make revenue and take that revenue and buy a certain number of a percentage of that revenue every single month. Okay. So that is what you're basically looking for. In terms of the winning protocols, Hyperliquid, Pump, I think 𝗕bridge is, I don't know why 𝗕bridge doesn't move. I mean, here again, they made FDV's 224 million. They bought back $1 million worth of tokens last month. It just doesn't make sense. Eventually, the 𝗕bridge price will actually catch up. I must be honest, if you've got a long-term view, then I think 𝗕bridge is a very, very good one to hold. Jupiter also a great one when it comes to buybacks. 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗪 has a unique model in terms of buybacks, and the model is so aggressive in its nature. It's very, very, very similar to Elio and Alex's protocol, which is called Black Hole. I think it's called Black Hole DEX. also has a very, very, very aggressive, you want to say like almost buyback mechanism. So you want to be looking for protocols that have a very, very, very strong buyback mechanism. And those are the ones that seem to be leading the cycle. But that's also not enough, right? Or that's not the whole story. Because remember, I said to you that what Wall Street want is they want good fundamentals, and Wall Street define good fundamentals as, are you actually making money? And then the question is, when you have that money, how are you getting the tokens off the market? That's half the story. The other half of the story is whether you can find other ways to get your tokens out of circulation. Because we're in this period where we're cleaning up the mess of this thing called token unlocks. So, in 2021, we created this thing called the vesting schedule for tokens. It wasn't like that in 2017. 2017, there were ICOs, and 100% of the tokens came unlocked on the ICO in most cases. I mean, obviously, Ethereum's case was slightly different. But the problem with these vesting schedules is that more and more and more tokens are coming onto the market. And so the winning protocols either have to buy the tokens off the market, or they have to find a buyer for those tokens, which is actually exactly what Athena have done, right? So Athena actually went and raised money to buy their tokens off the market using one of these treasury vehicles, right? And they are now implementing a buyback program. And so with that buyback program, and coupled that with the treasury company, and now you've got a token which has become like the darling of the cycle. Why? Because it's in a great narrative, it's got amazing revenue, and it's got a very, very, very strong plan using a treasury company to actually buy the tokens back, right? So he says, excited to see a successful raise on stablecoin. Next, they raised $530 million last week. This is the second raise, by the way. To put this into perspective, this raise is the equivalent of Saylor buying $300 billion to buy Bitcoin and $75 billion to buy ETH. 2 times the circulating supply purchased with the last cash raise. So you've got to have a plan to buy the tokens off the market. You can do that through buybacks, or you can do that through a treasury vehicle. And actually, today we saw another announcement of another big treasury vehicle. Let me know if you guys actually caught this trade on the terminal, because I was actually watching this trade on the terminal. A lot of people caught the trade on the terminal. Let me just open the terminal. You're not hearing... I switch it off when I broadcast because that sound is too addictive. It's just too fucking addictive. So, by the way, here's our DCA portfolio, which I bought the other day. Pump.fun has literally saved us because the market's come down since. But if you were following, I don't know if this terminal will let me go that far back, but if you were following the terminal earlier, you would have picked up the announcement that the Solana treasury company had basically launched, right? And so remember we told you there was going to be a treasury company launching with Solana, and we said it was going to be 𝗙𝗃𝗃, 𝗏𝗏𝗀, and Jump. Well, it actually got announced today. So we saw Solana showing some real relative strength, right? And you can see that when you look at the Sol ETH chart. What you can see at the Sol ETH chart's basically got a green candle up. There we go. There are the... Let's see what the news is. You see, this is the problem. This is the problem with the news terminal. You got to switch it off because otherwise you can't even work. That's the problem. Gold hits new high. By the way, you can actually trade this directly from the terminal. So like if I want to trade gold because gold hit the new high, where is that gold? Gold hit the new high announcement. Where is that? Yeah, too many news stories are broken since then. Okay, let me close this for a while because otherwise we're not going to, I mean, how is it possible to do any work when this thing's going crazy like this? It's impossible. So let me switch that off for a second so we can actually, hey, goodbye. We'll talk about the terminal in a sec. So what we saw is a big uptake in Sol ETH, in the Sol ETH chart. Why? Because they finally announced this treasury company that we've been waiting for. Jump, Multicoin, and 𝗙𝗃𝗃, which is exactly what we told you would happen. So they are bringing in $1.6 billion of Solana investment, and none of this, it's actually 100% cash. it's cash and stablecoin, and it's not locked Solana tokens, which is what we initially thought might be the case, right? And so now you've almost got like another figure. You've got 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 and you've got Tommy Lee. Tommy Lee ETH, 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 Solana. So another treasury vehicle. Another token which we're going to speak about quite a lot in the next couple of days is WorldCoin. I've never been a WorldCoin fan. I've never, ever been a WorldCoin fan, but I've actually now become one of their biggest fans. And I actually landed up buying a whole lot of WorldCoin today. Why? The reason why I bought is I was watching the terminal, and the terminal told me that there was this news broke. I don't think we can go back enough on the terminal, although we should try. Let me show you, because you would have actually bought. This is when I bought a big position in WorldCoin. Why? Because they announced a vehicle, announced a $250 million private placement with an additional $20 million strategic investment from Bitmine to initiate WorldCoin's treasury strategy. So now there's another company actually buying WorldCoin's treasury strategy. Now, as I said, initially I wasn't a big fan of WorldCoin. I'm now a mega fan of WorldCoin, and I really think you should have WorldCoin in your portfolio. The reason why I say that, the reason why I've had a change in heart is when they launched WorldCoin, I didn't really believe in the thesis behind WorldCoin. I was like, who needs proof of humanness? We didn't even have ChatGPT then. AI wasn't doing what AI is doing. I was like, who the hell needs this thing called WorldCoin? But then AI launched. And very quickly did we realize how important AI was going to become to us. And then I started seeing people making videos, social media videos, with AI influencers. And you actually cannot tell the difference between the AI and the normal person. Sometimes you got to double take and say, like, who am I talking to? Am I talking to AI or am I talking to an influencer? And that's where WorldCoin comes in, right? Because WorldCoin proves that humans are humans and AIs are AIs. And you got to think to yourself, Sam Altman is definitely behind WorldCoin. It's not like one of these like speculation things. He's one of the guys behind WorldCoin. Are you really going to take a bet against the creator of the world's biggest AI, which is ChatGPT? This guy knows exactly what's happening in the AI landscape. Before he launched ChatGPT, he launched WorldCoin, almost knowing that there's going to be a problem that's going to happen when ChatGPT launches. Now you've got this token, which is trading at a market cap of, well, let me just refresh that, because that's this morning. It's trading at a market cap of $13 billion fully diluted. And you say to yourself, hold on a second. Sam must have known what he was doing when he launched WorldCoin before he launched ChatGPT. He obviously launched it for a reason. And now that reason is becoming much more relevant and much more pertinent, right? And so I think that you cannot take a bet against WorldCoin. And I'll do a whole show around the much broader thesis in WorldCoin. But again, what happened today was that the terminal buzzed. Let me quickly open the terminal again. The terminal buzzed, and I saw the opportunity to take a WorldCoin trade, which I did open. Not in this account. I opened it in my real account. This is a demo account, obviously, for you guys. I wonder if we can actually go. Let's see if we can go back that far, because the terminal doesn't go back that far. No, that goes back to 30 minutes ago, unfortunately. But so what happened was the news broke of the treasury company, and immediately I went and took quite a big position. It's quite yeah. Oh, here, I'll show you how you can actually do it, because I just saw it over here. Can you see World Liberty Fi here? I can't see it. Yeah, World Liberty Fi. Here we go. So if you wanted to open a World Liberty Fi trade, when the trade actually came out, you could have just gone, that's it. And you would have got it like in milliseconds, and you would have had a World Liberty Fi position open, right? That's the beauty of trading using a news terminal. Basically, what this machine is doing is it is scraping multiple different sources using an AI. It scrapes multiple different sources, and within milliseconds, it brings you the most important news. Like this one was 312 milliseconds. Now, when it brings you the news, it also brings you the tokens that are affected by the news, right? And then it allows you to basically act on those tokens. So like, for example, in this news, it was either SOL or BNB. And if you wanted to buy SOL, you just click it. And if you want to sell, you just click it. And so what you can see is that you're getting the fastest execution out there. Now, in this game, if you got the fast execution, you would have made a ton of cash, because there were two big announcements today. The first announcement was around Solana, and I'll actually show you in the hourly exactly where where the announcement was made. That's the hourly chart. You can kind of see the announcement was made somewhere around there. Now, if you would have caught that announcement, you would have caught that whole run up. Most people didn't catch the announcement. Why? Because they were too slow. But that's what the news terminal is for. It's there to ping you. Now, it is our news terminal. It's part of our 247 brand. And if you want to get the news terminal, there's a special offer now, which ends at the end of September. If you sign up between now and the end of September, you pay $99 a month for the first 3 months, and then you pay $199 forever. Whereas if you don't, the price is going to go up to $299, then $399, then $499, until eventually we're going to get to $599. So I highly recommend that if you want to try this out, trial it out now at $99 a month. You can cancel it whenever you want. And geez, this thing's going crazy. It's going crazy. It's going crazy now. Yeah, so try it out now at $99 before the price actually goes up, because this is a massive number, because you're going to be paying $199 per month forever. So that's like, if you only sign up in October and you end up paying $299 a month forever, you're paying an additional $2,400 a year, right? So it's a big number. It's a big number. So rather sign up now. There's a link over here. Sign up here. If you sign up here, you'll be able to get that special. Also, just a heads up for those of you who didn't open an account on BTCC last month. So BTCC are back. They're doing the same thing again. They give you a 10% deposit bonus up to $10,000. So basically, if you deposit $1,000, you get 10%. You get $100. If you deposit $10,000, you get a free $1,000. If you deposit $50,000, you get $5,000 free. If you deposit $100,000, you get $10,000 free. It's like quite an easy way to play with the system here, because what you do is you deposit your money, you trade with your free bonus, and then you withdraw your money. But I didn't tell you that. You heard that from someone else. Don't tell them I was the one who told you. Anyway, if you want to take advantage of that, BTCC's offer is over here. So you get 10%. It's the best deposit bonus that I've ever actually seen in the industry. You know what? I do want to open one more bot on Pionex. The reason I want to open it is because I really think we need to have WorldCoin. Oh, I've got to sign in again. Hold on, let me try and sign in. I don't know if I can sign in. Let's actually try and sign in. Sign in. Okay, let's try and sign that in. I'm just signing myself into Pionex so we can open that WorldCoin. Here we go. I'm back. I'm in. Okay, don't remind me of this today. So I'm going to open a WorldCoin bot, because I as I said, I've become a big WorldCoin fan. And I'll do a show to explain my whole thesis, but I think you kind of know what the thesis is. If I look at WorldCoin, so the one thing I know is it's got a range from about $1. So I'll go from $1 and I'll go all the way up to like $3. I'm going to give it 500 grids because I want this thing to trade like crazy. Now, in terms of the investment amount, I'm going to go into 5x leverage on this one. 5x leverage. And I'm going to put in $3,000. Okay, my liquidation price is worrying me here, so I'm going to put another 1,000 here just as extra margin so I don't get liquidated. That's perfect. All right, so that's a bot that I've set up now on on WorldCoin. Actually, in fact, maybe let's try and reduce the number of grids. Maybe my liquidation won't get as bad. No, let's go up on the number of grids. So the range that it's going to play is between $1 and $3. The investment is $3,000 on 5x leverage with 500 grids. I've put in an extra $1,000 of extra margin just so I won't be liquidated. And I'm going to open that bot. And there we go. I'm going to share that. I'm going to share this one with you. I'm going to share it with you guys here. Johnny, if you could give the guys if you could give the guys this one for WorldCoin. This is quite an important one given the new treasury vehicle and whatever else. Also, if you want to sign up for Pionex, there's a link over here. Use that link, and then you can get up to $1,000 bonus. If you don't know how to get the $1,000 bonus, click on this link here. It literally walks you through in 46 seconds how to claim your user bonus on Pionex. You see that? It's how to claim your user bonus on Pionex. It literally gives you a step-by-step guide for those of you who haven't done it. So try and do it, and let me know what you think. Anyway, I will see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.